Antъni Uillam, the medical medium, #1 New York Times bestselling author. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about chocolate, matcha tea, caffeine, intermittent fasting, women's hair loss. We need to clarify something here. I need to pull back the wool that's been put over so many of the people's eyes. It's amazing how it works. Medical research and science isn't just this free love, happy bunch of little scientists running around a chemistry lab trying to discover the truth and so they can heal the world with medical breakthroughs. And if one happy little scientist comes across a discovery somehow that could stop disease, and everybody would cheer, and all the other happy little scientists would be like, yay, yay, you found the answer, you found the answer. And they're all a big happy family or a little happy family in the search of truth, in the search of getting people better. And their bosses at the science labs are all eager, and they want all those little discoveries, all those big discoveries from these happy little scientists. And the bosses in the labs are, bring your discoveries, bring your petri dish of discoveries over to us, to the managers, so we can actually green light this, and we can give it a green light and save the world. If you think that's how it works, or something like that in some form or some way, I'm sorry, you need to wake up. You need to wake up. If this is what you think on how it works, it doesn't work like that. This is planet Earth, and things don't work like that. That's not how it's done. And medical research and science is full of corruption. Full on riddled with corruption. Total corruption when it comes down to chronic illness. And it's run by a handful of leaders that have billions and billions and billions of dollars, more money than the richest men on the planet that are known to have the money, way more money than they have, like trillion in their bank account. They make the rules in medical research and science. It's not the happy little scientists and the research studies that go out that are paid for, and all those corrupted little studies that are everywhere, including alternative science, which I'm going to cover for a second. That's not how it rolls. They make the rules, the same rules that were made years ago by science and research to control you, the corrupt science and research. The same rules. That's how it works. And the real breakthroughs in medical research and science and chronic illness never get the green light. I'm sorry to say this. The real breakthroughs in research and science on chronic illness never get the green light. They never get the green light. They never do. They never get out the door to the world to help them heal and to save their lives, because it would mean people would be getting better, and people would be getting better. And you know what that means when people get better? It means no buying medications, no buying medical therapies, no buying over-the-counter medicine, no spending money on lots of drugs. It means that. So when people get better, it means the money train stops. The money train stops. When everybody's spouting out, where's your study, medical medium? Where's your study, medical medium? Or where's your research in science? I want to see your research in science. I want to see your research study. Where's that, medical medium? When people are spouting that out, because I see that, it happens on the lives, it'll come up. Some people are like, yeah, where's your research? Where's the research? You know, let me tell you, okay? You think you're beating the system? You think Mr. Smart research and study person, okay? You think you're beating the system by being like, where's your study? Where's your research? I'm just going to look at research and studies. That's what I'm going to trust. You think you're beating the system? You think you're smart? Is that what it is? You think you're smart? You're so smart that you think a research study is going to save somebody's life. That's not smart. That's not smart at all. That's the opposite of being smart. Okay? Because they're going on studies that were created by the system. So you think you're so smart when you're going on studies that were created by the very system that doesn't want the world to heal, the very corrupt medical research and science that doesn't want anybody better. Let that sink in for a second. How smart is that? On top of this, conventional and alternative science are in bed together. Conventional science and research and alternative research and science are in bed together. They are one now. They used to be separate years ago, 30, 40 years ago in alternative medicine. When guys put on their lab coats in alternative medicine and wanted to do a study on their own, you know what would happen? The authorities would break into their labs and throw them on the floor and handcuff them and make them lay flat, their face flat on the floor of their lab. Did you know that? The authorities with badges coming in would bust in there, arrest all the doctors in the lab coats because they were doing their own studies that weren't controlled. That's what alternative medicine used to be. It's not like that anymore, you guys. Alternative medicine is now conventional medicine. Where's your study on this? Where's your science on that? They're both one now, and they're both corrupt. I hear about it all the time from scientists. I hear about it all the time from doctors. I hear about it from old school doctors, okay, that actually were thrown on the floor of their labs because you weren't allowed to break away from the corrupt system. So if you think you're so smart and you say, medical medium, where's your study? Well, how about this? What about the street cred? And what about millions healing worldwide for medical medium books for the first time in our history in alternative conventional medicine with chronic illness? How about that for a study? Study that. You want to study something? Go ahead. You want to study something? Study the results from all the people that have healed over the years. But if you want to play around the internet and look for your little research articles and your little peer-reviewed studies and that never get anybody better, meanwhile, people are sick in their beds, dying, or sick in their beds, not living their life. They're on Mattress Island, and they can't get ahead, and they can't even crawl out of bed practically, and little research and science isn't saving them. And scientists in labs in their lab coats aren't saving anybody in chronic illness. Wake up. Wake up. So think twice before you put that comment up again. Where's your study? I get it. You might come from that school of thought where you trained and so you were in college and the science lab and the professor there, they seem to know everything, and science research has everybody's back and they're safe. It's like a safe feeling. There's a sense of safety ingrained in your consciousness that science and research and chronic illness somehow has the answers and everything's going to be okay when you get sick. But guess what? When you get sick, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't. You go to doctor, you go to endocrinologist, you go to a specialist, pulmonologist, to another doctor, and you're going all the different doctors, and then you see another specialist. That's reality. That's planet Earth. When you're suffering with chronic illness and symptoms, that's reality. And studies and science doesn't stop that. It doesn't save anybody. It doesn't stop you from making all your doctor's appointments. Now you're on the 20th doctor and you can't function. You've got 20 different, symptoms and you're suffering. Listen, Mr. Smart, spiritual, scientific person. Get it straight and get it right. Whether you're a smart, spiritual, scientific-minded person, both alternative and conventional. Millions of people can promise you this, Mr. Smart, scientific person, whether conventional or alternative. Studies don't count when you're on Mattress Island. Studies don't count when you have no answers. Studies don't do diddly squat. Studies don't save your butt and get you to rise out of the ashes. Studies don't help you after you visited your 20th doctor. Get that straight, Mr. Smart, spiritual, scientific person. I'm just saying, that's how it works. The tens of thousands of people that healed from medical medium information got their lives back when medical research and science couldn't. When medical research, precious science that is corrupted, couldn't. The information here does not come from corrupted sources, okay? It doesn't come from corrupted sources. Big difference right there. Big difference. Medical research and science, both alternative and conventional, and chronic illness wants you sick. They want you, I'll spell this out. They want you sick. You ready? They don't care if you die like a rat. You're just a number in the end. You're just your social security number or whatever number you have on the planet. You're just a number in the end, and you die like a rat. I'm not talking about the good people who work in science research. I know a lot of scientists, amazing people. They tell me how it works out there too. I'm not talking about people who get degrees and who have, who are with education. I'm not an educated guy. I don't have an education. I don't have a college degree. I never went to universities, never went to nutritional courses, classes, never went to anything. I get my information in medical textbooks that's advanced, ahead of science and research. I get it from up here, from above. And I'm a messenger to give you this advanced medical information that is in doctors' offices now. Doctors hold these books in their offices now as they're healing people. But here's the point. The point is that I don't work for the industry. I've been helping people for over 35 years getting their lives back. And I don't have a boss. I don't have a boss. When you look at your scientific little studies and research, okay, that's what you're into. They got a boss. And that boss determines every outcome. Not what was discovered in the lab. That doesn't determine the outcome. The boss determines the outcome, not what was studied or found in the lab. We're the largest health community in the chronically ill. We're the largest health community out there and safe space for the chronically ill. And there's a reason for that, because we have answers in order to heal. Thanks for being on board with me during this show. We're going to cover some cool stuff. We're definitely covering intermittent fasting. We're covering caffeine, chocolate, matcha tea. Don't miss this. This is so good. And millions of people are healing worldwide from the medical medium information inside the books. The results speak for themselves. We're going to talk about hair loss, women's hair thinning, women's hair loss tonight too. We're covering that. The information has street cred. It's helped people, and it's free, and it works. It's free. Free. It's free. Okay? That's the whole thing. You can get the book at the library. You can get it on Amazon for discount right now. I mean, it's a textbook. It's really heavy. It's a tremendous amount of information. But it's everything I offer is free. There's a reason for that, okay? It's important. No membership charges, no website charges, no school charges, schooling charges. I could open up a school tomorrow. I could open up a school tomorrow and get backers in a second. Did you know that? Did you know? I mean, I could get billionaires to back me, millionaires to back me in a second. Open up schools, charging all like $50,000 a year to learn this information. Did you know that? I get told that all the time. I get confronted all the time by people with mega money. And they get a hold of medical medium. And they're like, look, this information is unbelievable. It needs to be put into schools. The whole bit. It needs to be put into schools. And that's what we need. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to charge for it. Like, okay, all right. No one else would do that, but all right. We are anti-click, anti-tribe, and anti-cult. All three of those we're anti. We are a free community. All walks of life are welcome here. Tonight we're talking about chocolate, coffee, green tea, matcha tea, the whole bit. The medical medium community is a safe space for families, people who protect their families and loved ones, people who care about their friends and look out for them. It's about freedom and choices in the whole bit. So the thing is with caffeine, which we're going to talk about, like matcha tea, we're going to talk about coffee drinks, we talk about all of that. Paid for studies actually tell you, oh, it's good for you. Chocolate's good for you. That's what they'll tell you. Chocolate's good for you. Paid for studies will do that. Okay? Paid for studies. Oh, drink your matcha tea. But what it is, they want you addicted and controlled. You don't believe me? Yeah, sure. Try to quit your caffeine then. Try to quit your chocolate. Try to quit your matcha tea. Try to quit your coffee drinks. Try. It's real hard, and there's a reason for that. You guys are the cash cow for them. Cash cow for the industries. We're going to be going into intermittent fasting, women's hair loss. We're going to cover that too. You want to fasten your seatbelts and get into your chair, get yourselves ready. Medical Medium Cleanse and Heal is out. It's on sale. I think it's 40%, I'm pretty sure, off on Amazon right now. I don't know how long that lasts. Get the book if you can, or go to the library for free. Healing plans for the sufferers of anxiety, depression, acne, eczema, Lyme disease, gut problems, brain fog, weight issues, migraines, bloating, vertigo, psoriasis, cysts, fatigue, PCOS, fibroids, UTI, endometriosis, and autoimmune. Just so you know, that's just a few of the conditions inside this book. If your condition isn't on the front, it could be on the back. Look at that. And then more. So we're going into intermittent fasting right now. And so here we are. Page 48, I'm going to read and talk about it a little bit. Also get you familiar about how it works with intermittent fasting, all of this. It's unique information. This isn't from anybody else's information. It's only original from Medical Medium. That's it. It's right here. So we'll talk about this a little bit. Intermittent fasting is a temporary band-aid that can support someone short term if they're not sick. If you're not sick, if you're really not struggling, if you're really not sick, intermittent fasting can be a temporary band-aid. It can be really supportive for somebody if you're not sick. Important to know. We shouldn't see it as anything beyond short term. We have to realize that for the not so sick person. So if someone is all of a sudden not so sick, so here's the difference. I want to cut into this. Not sick means really no symptoms. Not so sick means you got a bunch of symptoms. Sick means you're really struggling. Really struggling. So there's these three things right there I want you to know. So it's a temporary band-aid for people who are not sick, intermittent fasting. But we shouldn't see it as long-term support for somebody who's not so sick, someone who's getting symptoms. It should only be short-term, but I'm going to talk about why it's good, why it's bad, why all these things, where's the positives and all of that. Even for those who get any positives out of them, out of intermittent fasting, it needs to be done correctly. Even someone who's getting something positive out of intermittent fasting, you guys, it needs to be done correctly. If you're an intermittent faster and you've come across this chapter in Cleanse to Heal, because you really got to read the chapter in here in Cleanse to Heal, I'm going to offer you tips so that you can still do your intermittent fasting with the least consequences. Know what that means, the least consequences. Because what that means is, problems to your body down the road, problems you're going to get into, eventually causing trouble down the road, inside your body. That's what it's going to do. That's what's going to happen. When you're sick and trying to recover from a chronic illness or symptom that's impeding your life, intermittent fasting will not give you the long-term relief you need. It can only hinder you, possibly even worsening your illness or condition. Many people are into intermittent fasting. And here's the whole thing. Intermittent fasting does not translate to cleansing. So that's another thing too. Intermittent fasting doesn't translate to cleansing. If you just got on here, Medical Medium Cleanse to Heal, you get it at Amazon. For dirt cheap, in my opinion. It's a textbook of information you've never read anywhere else. Intermittent fasting does not translate to cleansing. It doesn't translate to healing the body deeply. What is someone eating on the other side of the intermittent fast? How does that work? You're intermittent fasting, but are you eating right on the other side of your intermittent fast? Are you eating right at the end of the day? Are you eating right at the opposite end of the day? You may not be, right? What's going on inside your health? Well, what's going on with your health, right? Someone might be like, hey, try intermittent fasting. It's okay to do, but what's really happening inside your health? What needs to be fixed that intermittent fasting isn't addressing? But what if intermittent fasting is actually making it worse? Let's talk about it a little bit. It's important. Keep in mind that when you're intermittent fasting, you're never truly fasting. Something that's really important to know. Did you know that? Did you know when you're intermittent fasting, you're not fasting? You're not truly fasting? Not until you go 24 hours without food or beverages other than water can you call anything a fast. See, if there's any kind of beverage besides water, any kind of food whatsoever, during the course of 24 hours, your body will not go into a fast. It won't go into a fast. If you're eating anything or drinking a beverage, even black coffee, even a drop of lemon juice in water, instantly stops your body from fasting. You can't be fasting unless you literally have stopped all food or beverage, except for plain water, within a 24-hour cycle. The body doesn't start fasting until the sun has risen twice. Something important about this that you have to understand. So we're calling it something it's not even. Isn't that interesting? The body doesn't start fasting until the sun has risen twice. That means you wake up one morning and you don't eat, and you're going through your day and you don't eat, and then you go to bed that night and you never ate. You wake up in the morning, the sun's rising, and you just hit that 24-hour cycle. Now you're actually starting to fast. Now you're fasting. It's important to know. So if you're withholding foods in the morning or for the most of the day, and you eat a meal before 24 hours have passed, or you drink a black coffee, or even squeeze a lemon into your water within those 24 hours, you stop the process of fasting from beginning. You don't let your body start fasting. So the minute you squeeze a drop of lemon, you guys, the minute you have a little black coffee, the minute you eat any food whatsoever, you're not fasting. Your body has to have none of that in there in order for it to go the 24-hour cycle to start the fast. And that's important to know. Point is, the name of this technique, the name that was given, intermittent fasting, is flawed to begin with. So here you are. It's incredible. I've seen people like, where's your research? Where's your science study? Where's all that? And meanwhile, they're intermittent fasting. Science and research doesn't believe in intermittent fasting. There's no science and research behind intermittent fasting. There's nothing that really exists on anything. It's a hackville. Meanwhile, the same person that's intermittent fasting will be like, where's your study? It's unbelievable. And check this out. The point is, the name of this technique is flawed to begin with, which showcases that the experts in intermittent fasting are unaware of how the body's process really works. So someone will spout out, where's your study? Meanwhile, they'll do intermittent fasting from experts that are unaware of how the body works, and they named it wrong. The name of what they're doing is completely unfounded and wrong. Incredible how it works. Incredible. You know, people think there's studies on intermittent fasting. It's a joke. Complete and total joke. There isn't. Those are fake studies on intermittent fasting. A study on intermittent fasting would be literally conventional science taking it under its wing, okay, opening the floodgate, opening the door, and putting it through unbelievable scrutiny like you've never seen. And even that is going to be corrupted. I'm reading out of Cleanse to Heal right here. Cleanse to Heal. Let's talk about the short-term positives of intermittent fasting. And here's the thing. It doesn't matter what's written out there or talked about in intermittent fasting. They don't even know why someone's even getting any relief, like a short-term positive. They're not even correct on why and how. I'm going to cut into it right here, just a little bit of it. You got to read this chapter. I'm out of Cleanse to Heal right here. Let's talk about the short-term positives of intermittent fasting. Not so sick people, meaning people with just a little bit of problems, like you know, they don't have good energy, their focus isn't that great, maybe they got a little digestive problem. People that are not so sick, they got a little acne, they got some symptoms. Not so sick people who like intermittent fasting say that they feel clear and have more energy and better focus. The reason this occurs is that when they remove food for more than 2 to 3 hours, the body starts to run on adrenaline. It's called epinephrine. So you're high on adrenaline. When you guys stop food for more than 2 hours, your adrenals start to release adrenaline. They start releasing epinephrine. They do that because your blood sugar starts dropping. So the minute you go off of food for 2 to 3 hours, your blood sugar starts dropping and your adrenals start to pump epinephrine to make up for the glucose loss, because it's trying to protect you. That's what's happening. So you end up getting high on adrenaline, and it could feel good. It could feel good. So the reason why this has occurred, that when you remove the foods for more than 2 to 3 hours, your body starts to run on adrenaline called epinephrine, which works as a natural amphetamine. That's what that is. It's giving you that natural amphetamine thing going on. Instead of having to take an amphetamine, like a prescribed amphetamine drug, it's like a natural amphetamine kind of thing going on, which works as that. That adrenaline races through your body. Races through your body. Really does. I appreciate the fact that you love this book. I'm honored you love this book. I'm honored. And thank you for saying that. Thank you for putting that out there. It's just, it's moving to me. It warms my heart that you love the book. It means a lot to me. It's Cleanse to Heal we're talking about. And thank you for that. So if you're someone and here's how it works. The adrenaline races to the brain and ignites electricity. Here's how adrenaline works. When you stop eating, or you're doing caffeine, if you're doing both at the same time, you're pumping the crap out of your adrenals. They're pumping like this. These little tiny adrenals are going into overload. They're trying to get as much epinephrine through your body as possible. And there's all this electricity in your brain, your electrical impulses, all running through your neurons. And adrenaline is like gasoline on an electrical impulse in your brain. So you start to think a little clearer. You'll start to get a little bit more focus and concentration. You'll start to be like, whoa, I'm coming around a little bit. When you're not so sick. When you're not so sick. You'll just be like, whoa, I'm starting to feel better. I'm starting to feel a little bit on my game, a little bit more on my game. All this stuff can happen. That's how it works. So if you're someone who's not so sick and not so compromised, if you're someone that's not suffering or struggling with a lot of symptoms, conditions, meaning that you still have adrenaline reserves, and you withhold food for long enough, you'll start running on those reserves of adrenaline. You start running on it. So here's how it works. If you're not so sick or not sick, your adrenals, they're stronger. They might be filled with more adrenaline is what's happening. So they got more adrenaline reserves in them, okay? And that's what's happening. So if you withhold food and your adrenals are pumping that epinephrine out to keep you going, and it's pumping them out and you're flooding your system and all that, okay? You'll start getting some of those results and all that if you're not so compromised, and that's how it works. That's what brings the clarity in. That's what brings the focus in. That's what brings the temporary energy in. But nobody knows that in the intermittent fasting world. Nobody knows that in any intermittent fasting information or documentation that's out there. None of that's out there. That's medical medium information. It's original. It's unique. I'm reading out of Cleanse to Heal, you guys. Another reason some people report feeling better when they start intermittent fasting is that they're removing 1 to 2 of their fat-based meals per day. Check this out. Check this out. Okay? If you guys remove your avocado toast in the morning, if you remove your tablespoons of coconut oil out of your smoothie, if you remove your tablespoons of almond butter and peanut butter out of your peanut butter smoothie bowls or your smoothies, if you remove your bacon, if you remove your eggs, if you remove your whatever it is in the morning, any kind of fat-based meal in the morning, if you remove it, you guys, you start feeling better because you give your liver a break. You're giving your liver a break. One of the reasons why intermittent fasting is giving people some relief temporarily in their life is because you're taking, without realizing it, a fat break. No one's going to tell you that. You're taking a fat break in the morning. You're not bombarding your liver so it has to pump all this bile up and force it all up into your gallbladder. Pump that bile to try to break down all that fat you're doing in the morning. And you're even giving your liver a break so something can cleanse a little in the morning because you already had a fat-based meal at night and your liver had to suck it out all night long and just suck it out all night long. It was brutal on the liver. And now you're having that fat-based meal in the morning. You took it away. And when you took it away, you're getting a result. When you give your body a break from a fat-based breakfast and possibly even a fat-based lunch, because a lot of people doing intermittent fasting, they're doing fat-based breakfast, fat-based lunch, they're taking it out, they're giving themselves a break. That would have included radical fats, such as avocado, peanut butter, almond butter, milk, cheese, bone broth, fat. Bone broth is a fat broth. That's what that is. It's a fat broth. It's just hard on the liver. Brutal on the liver, really. Brutal. And then when a lot of people stick vinegar in their bone broth. Talking about harder than the liver. My God, it brutalizes the liver. It's unbelievable how it works. Or say other animal proteins in the morning. This has nothing to do with what I like or what I don't believe in or what I believe in and what I don't. That's not it. I got to give you guys the straight up so you can make your choices and decisions, whether you like me or not. Somebody might not like me and be like, I don't like this guy. He's attacking something. I'm not. I'm just saying if you're sick and you're struggling, you got symptoms and conditions, I want you to have options so that you can come back to this book 5 years when you're ready, 5 years from now when you're ready to heal. After you've read every research paper and study there is out there in the world that doesn't get anybody better, you have a chance to come here and get information that's above the noise. You automatically start to feel better because you're allowing your body to do a bit of cleansing. When you stop your fats in the morning, intermittent fasting will cause that to happen accidentally without anybody realizing. That's why they're feeling better. They're feeling better because they stopped their fats in the morning, you guys. That's why they're starting to feel better. You automatically start to feel better because you're giving your body a break. The right way to give your body a break, though, is to follow the morning cleanse in this book. If you want to do it the right way, you're like, oh, is there a right way? Yeah, there's a right way. There's a right way to do it so you don't burn your adrenals out, so you don't intermittent fast your adrenals until they're starved down the road. You can starve your adrenal glands, beat them down, cause them to just pump their life force out while you're intermittent fasting for 5 years. And then you pay the price when you're 35 years old. Believe me, you'll pay the price. You'll pay the price when you're 32. You'll pay the price when you're 40. You'll pay the price. And look, I got a friend who doesn't care if they pay the price then because they don't care. As long as you're not paying the price now, they feel like. They'll be like, well, I'm not worried about it right now. Right now, I'm just taking it day by day. They don't care if 5 years from now, all this stuff happens. They don't care if they pay the price later. You might be that person. I totally have respect for that. I got a best friend that's like that. But because my best friend will be like, well, just fix me when I'm sick later. I'll be like, well, I don't know. I mean, I got a lot going on. I got to take care of everybody here and give them all this information. I don't know I'm going to be able to fix you when you're sick because I don't know if I have the time. The people that are putting in the work right now, you guys, I want to devote my energy and time to you guys. Not to a friend that won't take care of themselves now but wants to rely on me later to fix them. So the right way to give your body this break would be to follow the morning cleanse that you'll read about in chapter 16. It's a healthier option to protect your adrenals and protect you. Cleanse to Heal. You can get it at Amazon.com dirt cheap. Literally dirt cheap there. It's just unbelievable. It would cost you more to print this book out yourself with color paper and everything. This book is too big. If you're really attached, you guys, listen, I want to tell you this. If you're really attached to your intermittent fasting option, like if you're really attached to intermittent fasting, I got an option in here for you. Giving your body a break from meals really gives your liver, pancreas, and other organs a break from high-fat foods. That's what it does. Caffeine mistake. I want to talk about the caffeine mistake a little bit in intermittent fasting. A huge mistake with intermittent fasting, you guys, is that people run on caffeine all day. You think that's a bad thing? It is. If you don't think it's a bad thing, it's a bad thing. It slowly trashes your adrenal glands. Your caffeine addiction is forcing the adrenals to pump a harsh blend of adrenaline that scorches the brain and the liver over time, burning out neurotransmitter chemicals, toasting them, literally toasting them. That's how it works. That harsh blend can annihilate neurotransmitter chemicals, the very things you guys need as you get older. It's critical to have those babies working. It's a truly unhealthy practice. And down the road, when you're intermittent fasting and you're doing your caffeine to do it, it's going to lead to aging and damaged skin. That's what happens. You're going to need the plastic surgery everybody's getting. You're going to need it. Keep on doing the caffeine day in and day out. Chocolate, coffee, matcha tea, coffee drinks, chocolate, coffee, matcha tea, coffee drinks. Do some intermittent fasting, burning out the adrenals, more coffee drinks, more caffeine, and you'll be getting the plastic surgery. Because, I mean, honestly, the damage that's done. And you get the hair loss, the women's hair loss is a big part of it. The caffeine industry is largely responsible for women's hair loss. Largely responsible for women's hair loss is the caffeine industry. Chocolate is largely responsible for women's hair loss. Chocolate. Caffeine's in chocolate. I'm not saying you can't eat chocolate. I'm not saying you can do it. Look, at least take care of yourself. If you want to keep your caffeine, get the book. Take care of yourself while you're doing caffeine then. Take care of yourself while you're doing chocolate, just so you're taking care of yourself big time. So you're at least offsetting that addiction. Offset that addiction. If you've got to keep that addiction in because you just have to, and you know, you're not going to stop, and I don't blame you. I understand it's a hard world. I totally get it. Get the book. Work with it then. Work with it. It's important. But if you're sick and you're compromised and you guys got symptoms, you got the worst eczema and you got all these different conditions, the worst fatigue and all that, at least you have an option to stop the caffeine so it doesn't get worse and you can work with healing. That's what's important too. You know, think about that a little bit. It's important. Look, it's an unhealthy practice. Down the road, it leads to damaged skin, brain fog, severe focus and concentration problems, fatigue, hair loss, and weight gain. These symptoms may not show themselves in someone's 20s. That's where we get tricked. We get tricked, you know? I had somebody the other day who is 38 years old, right? Which is still really young. I'm older, much older than that. But I wish I was 38. I really wish I was 38. And, right, a friend of mine is 38 years old. Told me that, you know, like, look, their friend, and they showed me their Instagram, their friend was in their 20s, but she didn't tell me that. Her friend was like 21. And she said, look, here's my friend. Look what she's doing on here. She can do all the chocolate. She can do all the caffeine. She can do everything. And I'm like, and she goes, and she doesn't have problems right now. She can do the chocolate. She can do the intermittent fasting. She can do the caffeine. She can do the coffee drinks all day long. And she's not having any problems. I said, she's 21 years old. She's going to have the same problems you have at 38. And she's like, you're right. I didn't think about that. I go, and besides, I said to my friend, besides, do you know how many 20-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds that are suffering? They're losing their hair. They're falling apart. They got fatigue. They got anxiety. They're suffering and struggling, and they're stuck, addicted to their caffeine and their chocolate and everything else, and they're going through all their symptoms and conditions. And my friend was like, she was like, I totally get it. I didn't think about that. You're right. There's so many people that are sick, and they're young too. They're young and they're sick. Reading How to Cleanse to Heal right now. Get on Amazon.com. Like totally dirt cheap. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's good though, because at least you guys can get the book inexpensive. You can go to the library and get it for free if you don't want to spend $20. Look, I can chop this book up and put it into programs for thousands and thousands of dollars. Hold the information from everybody. Make them have to buy it. I mean, you know, it would be unbelievable. The millions of hits I get on my website are unbelievable. I could just sell the programs 24/7. Become a quadrillionaire. But I'm not going to do it. It's $20 book, basically for free. Get it at the library if you want. So this comes back to the reality that intermittent fasting experimental practices. Just hear this part. This comes to reality that intermittent fasting experimental practices, because that's what it is. It's an experiment. Are band-aids that don't address what's wrong with the person. Intermittent fasting experts. I mean, it's embarrassing to even say experts at intermittent fasting. What are they experts in? They don't know what's causing chronic illness. They don't know why you're sick with fatigue and lupus and multiple sclerosis and eczema and psoriasis and all your different neurological Lyme symptoms and everything else and gut problems and they don't know why you're sick. So like, how is anybody even deemed an intermittent fasting expert when they don't even know why you're sick? Let that sink in for a minute. Oh my God. Somebody could say, well, why are you an expert? Somebody could say, why are you an expert? Well, how about the millions of people healing? How about the street cred? How about the people getting out of their beds and getting their lives back? You can call it what it is, but it is what it is. So here's how to think. When you intermittent fast, you can get the weight loss. Okay, people like that result of the weight loss, and that can happen. And the reason why that happens is because you're taking out the fats in the morning. That's why. You're taking out the high fats in the morning. So if someone's intermittent fasting and they like the weight loss they're getting, they're removing the avocado in the morning, the oils in the morning, they're removing the almond butter in the morning, they're removing the peanut butter in the morning because they're intermittent fasting. They're removing the animal protein in the morning. They're removing the eggs in the morning. So they're not able to eat the eggs in the morning. So you'll lose the weight a little bit. For a lot of people, they'll get the weight loss because they're giving their liver a break. The liver doesn't have to process all that egg fat. So the liver doesn't have to process the egg fat. The liver doesn't have to process the avocado fat. The liver doesn't have to process the bacon. It doesn't have to process the almond butter fat. It doesn't have to do any fat processing in the morning. So you'll lose weight. It offers the liver a chance to expel and disperse fat cells. And that's how it works. And then you feel like you're losing weight quicker, but what's really happening is you have less food in your belly. You'll have less food in your belly. What that means is less distension. You'll have less distension in your belly because you don't have your intestinal tracts jammed with stuff, jammed with food. And when you don't have your gut jammed with food, you're feeling lighter. So then you want to be lighter and lighter. So then you do more coffee drinks and more caffeine and more chocolate, or maybe you're not even into that and you're just not eating and you're not putting food in. So you're actually noticing the next morning you lost some weight. But what you lost was you didn't have more food in your gut. That extra food adds on a couple of extra pounds on your scale in the morning. So that's a deception people get too. So that whole deception is, wait a minute, I lost weight in 2 days, intermittent fasting. No, you actually cut your food in half. So you don't have the weight of 2 pounds of food extra in your gut. You guys got to read the rest of the intermittent fasting chapter. It's really important because it's packed. There's so much information out there. And it's just, there's so much there. I'm in caffeine section, cleanse to heal. Glad you guys are here. We got a lot to cover, so we're going to talk about caffeine. We're going to talk about that. That's a big deal. Coffee drinks, matcha tea, chocolate. Caffeine has 2 effects that you don't want during a cleanse. One is it dehydrates you. That's one thing. So you don't want to do caffeine during a cleanse. If you pick a cleanse in the book, hold off the caffeine if you can. If you can't, I understand. Life's not easy, but try to hold it off. 2, it prompts adrenal glands to pump unnecessary levels of adrenaline into your bloodstream, causing a variety of compromises to your brain, liver, and kidneys. When you're doing caffeine, matcha tea, coffee drinks, chocolate, whatever, energy drinks, when you're doing these things, you're causing your adrenals to pump. That's what you're doing, causing them to pump. That's what's happening. And all that adrenaline is saturating the brain and the brain tissue, the glial cells, the neurons, burning out neurotransmitter chemicals. I was talking about that earlier before. That's what's happening. So that's not something you want to do. Also, the liver has to absorb all of that adrenaline. It has to sponge it up to protect you. So you got all this excess adrenaline pumping all the time because we're addicted to some kind of drink that's causing the adrenals to pump all that epinephrine. And the liver has to then absorb it up and sponge it up. This is all medical medium information, you guys. This isn't any plant-based doctor's book. This isn't somebody paleo-based doctor's book, some other, doctor or certain person. Doctors are great and amazing, but a lot of times, a lot of the books of information that come out from all these different so-called experts, whether they're some kind of somebody or whatever or nobody, and they just put these books out, and that information didn't come from anyone. It's all medical medium information. I just have to make that clear because people will say, wait a minute, where did he get this from? How could he have all this information? Caffeine gives the adrenals a sense of fight or flight. That's what goes wrong. Fight or flight occurs when you're on that caffeine. When you have fight or flight happening every time you do caffeine, a caffeine drink, and your fight or flight occurs, you're numbing yourself. That's not a good thing. That fight or flight is a privilege. To have the fight or flight mechanism where your adrenals pump out all of that chemical, all that chemical composition of adrenaline blend to protect us during a real compromise, during a real problem, during a real issue that we have in our life, during a loss, during some kind of problem that happens, whatever that is, or if we're just under a major workload stress, whatever it is, that fight or flight we have a right to have that. It's a privilege to be there, but we're using it when we're not supposed to, when we're dousing ourselves with caffeine all the time. We're burning out our fight or flight reserves. That's what's going on. It becomes this boy who cried wolf syndrome, where every time we're doing some chocolate, our adrenals are kicking into gear like it's fight or flight. So they're pumping like this. You guys, that's what happens. I'm going to give you basically the rundown right here. You're standing there, and you're about to eat your piece of chocolate or have your chocolate drink or whatever it is, and you're about to have it. Once you have it, it goes in through the system. The caffeine, being a drug, goes to the brain. It hits nerve receptors immediately. Those nerve receptors feel like something's going on. It's something that's toxic. So there's a crisis happening. So what happens is with that caffeine from the chocolate, there's this crisis happening, and it sends a signal down to your adrenals. Your adrenals start to pump like this when they're not supposed to. Pumping all that epinephrine. That's what's happening. The epinephrine is going through your bloodstream and scorching your neurotransmitters, your intestinal tract lining, hurting any good bacteria that you have in your gut. Adrenaline from fight or flight does damage inside the body. Hurts the nerves. So here are your nerves, your phrenic nerves, all the different nerves in your body. All that caffeinated adrenaline is pumping through, affecting your nerves. And if you're sick, this is hard on someone. This is really hard on someone. If you're not so sick or not sick and you're just doing this, then fine. Live your life until you get sick or it gets you sick. So that's how it works right there. When we consume caffeine, it creates that boy who cried wolf situation, so that when a real problem happens, when something really happens later, we get numb and we don't react right to a real crisis, or we get really sick during a crisis. So here's how it works. Your fight or flight is there for you for a real crisis. Okay, that's how it works. But we abuse it because the industries control us by getting us hooked on caffeine in all forms. Even the alternative influencer guys that are trying to push chocolate for years, it's unbelievable. Like, hey, yeah, there's all these studies about how chocolate's good for you. Here, have chocolate. Trying to get everybody stuck on chocolate. It's unbelievable how it works. But when you're going through that fight or flight, it's like your reserves. And when you're making that fight or flight happen every single day, you go numb. So then when a real thing happens, like a real crisis happens, you get sick from it. It's too much. Your adrenals overload because they're doing this anyway all the time. So then when you get a crisis at the same time, now we're really up, a bad creek without a paddle. It's amazing how it works. And then the specific blend of adrenaline that caffeine creates and triggers is a different kind of blend than if we do other things in our life. So that's how it works. So caffeine creates and triggers a blend of adrenaline that research and science doesn't know anything about. Out of the 56 blends that the adrenals have, it's medical medium information, that adrenaline blend is toxic, poisonous, it scorches the body. That's how it works. And I'm talking about cacao, by the way. I'm talking about cacao. I'm talking about that. So it's the same thing. I know the difference is you're thinking, well, I don't eat milk chocolate bars. I eat cacao, and I get it out of my package. I put it in my spoon. It's the same thing. Or I do cacao powder and same thing. The caffeine doesn't mean you guys have to stop your chocolate or your cacao. I'm not trying to ruin everything and be I'm not the fun police. That's not it. It's just that if you're struggling and you're suffering and you got women's hair loss and you got aches and pains and you got acne and you got all these other things and bloating and all these other different symptoms and fatigue and focus concentration issues and brain fog and everything, I'm trying for the long run to protect you and get you better and give you options so you can cleanse and you can learn. Get cleansed to heal. So let's talk about this a little bit. The specific blend of adrenaline that fight or flight triggers can be highly toxic to the body because it's highly acidic. Adrenaline is so burning hot acidic. It's burning on the nerves. It's burning hot acidic in the body. It scorches the body. It's corrosive. This kind of adrenaline release is not meant to be used every day because you want a caffeine addiction. And I know it's not your fault with the caffeine addiction. I get that. It's meant to be used sparingly. Over time, this adrenaline blend can slowly scorch the liver. Caffeine feels good, you guys. It feels good. It gets us up and going. It gets our adrenals to kick in. It gives us that boost. It gets us up and dancing to the music, ready and pumped up to move and start the day and get to work. We pay a price for relying on caffeine to do that, man. We pay a price. All of that squeezing of the adrenals is supposed to be preserved for a special situation that warrants it, like pregnancy. You want your adrenals strong for pregnancy. You want your adrenals strong for when you give birth to your baby. Because that's what adrenals are literally for women, as far as to be that part, that's how the baby's birth. It's through a surge of adrenaline that's unbelievable. The adrenals release more adrenaline during giving birth than in any other state of life. And if you're doing caffeine drinks and you're hooked by the industry, has you hooked on all these things, and chocolate, caffeine drinks, and matcha tea, and coffee drinks, they weaken your adrenals so that your pregnancy experience isn't as pleasant, or could be even better than it already is. Your birthing experience could be even better. And the industry tries to rob women of an experience that could even be better in so many ways. I tell mommies all the time, you shouldn't be doing caffeine drinks between babies. Like, if you want to have another baby, just wait. Don't do the caffeine drinks for 2 years before you have the baby. After the baby, if you want to go back to your caffeine drinks, you go back to your caffeine drinks. And then you get the hair loss. After giving birth, women get the hair loss more after giving birth because your adrenals are weak to start with. The women that don't lose their hair or get hair thinning after they give birth, or months and months after they give birth, the women who don't lose their hair and get the hair thinning are the women who had stronger adrenals going in to their pregnancy, stronger adrenals going into giving birth. The women who lose that hair and they get the hair thinning after pregnancy, and they get the hair thinning months later after pregnancy, they went into it with weaker adrenals because of caffeine. This is medical medium information. Nowhere else can you get this information. This isn't a research and study. This isn't from somebody else's book. I just want to make this one thing clear. My publisher would never in a million years let me put out a book of medical information that wasn't mine. I would have to cite every last fabric and piece of this. It's all the information from Spirit of Compassion. So women are a sure sell for addictions. That's what the industry believes. The industry believes get them hooked on chocolate, get them hooked on caffeine, get them hooked on caffeine drinks young. Get women hooked on coffee drinks young. Keep them hooked on it because it's a sure sell. It's a billion, trillion dollar industry. It's a way to control women and you sell to them. That's how the industry works. That's how it works. I've had women approach me like, AW, people I've known, and they'll be like, AW, I'm really spiritual. I'm spiritually minded. I do all these things. I'm like totally up on everything. I do spiritual practices. Like, are you still on all the caffeine? Are you still on all the caffeine? And they're like, well, yeah, I'm still on the caffeine. I go, okay, it's fine. But that's the industry's trying to control you, right? Like, I don't let anybody control me. They'll say, well, they are. It's like, you want freedom. You want total spiritual freedom. You want total freedom. You want freedom away from the industries. You want to really be a rebel and away from the industries. You really want to be alternative. You really want to be alternative minded. Don't get sucked in to the evil giant of caffeine, the caffeine industry. But there's no belief system here at Medical Medium. So you can keep your caffeine in and still do the cleanse, still do things, still take care of yourself, of course. It's just that someone out there, one of you guys, might be really sick and struggling, and the caffeine's actually keeping you down. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen. It's just too hard. There's so much information I can't even scratch into it. It's just only a little bit. I only covered a little bit tonight. There's so much. I'm reading Hair Thinning and Loss in the back of the book, Cleanse to Heal, right now. A stagnant, sluggish liver. So what happens is all that adrenaline from the caffeine industry making your adrenals pump, makes your liver stagnant and sluggish over time. Women's hair loss is different than men's hair loss. Got to make that clear. I know men that don't have one hair on their head, and either does their father, their grandfather, their grandfather's father, their grandfather's grandfather, their great-great-great-great-grandfather. And they're men that have just male pattern baldness going all the way back for 200 years. Women are not supposed to have women pattern baldness going back 200 years like men do. So it's really devastating, number one, when women get thinning hair so hard. And you know, women are not supposed to lose their hair. So what happens is with all the caffeine addictions that women are put on, or they're put on drugs for their symptoms and conditions, with burn out their liver too. So different kinds of medications and drugs because of their symptoms and conditions. The science and research doesn't care about women. Doctors care about women. Doctors are amazing. Scientists, they care about women. The industries, they don't care about anybody. They don't care about women or men. The industries are they're just, you know, evil giants. So the whole thing is a stagnant, sluggish liver. What happens is your liver has to absorb all that adrenaline I talked about from the caffeine stuff, including intermittent fasting if you're doing it wrong. Your liver has to suck up all that adrenaline. You know, and it's amazing how it works. I'm in Cleanse to Heal right now. I'm reading in the supplements and true causes section in the back of the book, which is a whole book on its own. So you know when I put this book together, my publisher said, you just wrote 4 books and you put it in one book. They said, we don't even know how to handle this. That's what they said. We don't even know what to do. You have 4 books as one book. It's that massive. And that's what my publisher said. I said, I want people to have everything, including the 75 recipes in here, including it's a recipe book. My publisher said there's a recipe book in your book. Did you know that? Mr. William, there's a recipe book in your book. I'm like, yeah. I wanted them to have a full recipe book inside the book that already has 3 other books in it in one. I'm in the 200 symptoms and conditions section of Cleanse to Heal. Go to Amazon and get it right now, dirt cheap. A stagnant, sluggish liver containing toxic heavy metals. We all have metals inside our liver. Science and research doesn't care about metals inside your liver. They don't even know about it. What studies are out there on that? Metals in your liver? Good luck. Pathogens in the liver that we deal with all the time that I talk about. But here's the thing right here. Here's what happens with women's hair loss. That's a big deal right here. Here it is right here. Critically needed hormones produced by the adrenal glands that keep the hair follicles alive. Your hair follicles stay alive. Women's hair follicles stay alive. Okay? Not men's hair follicles. Women's hair follicles stay alive. Women's adrenals are different than men's adrenals. I love how the industry wants women and men to be the same. And you know what I mean? Like they want them to be the same. Women's adrenals are different than men's adrenals. Women have more complicated adrenals, meaning much more diverse, different blends of adrenaline are produced by it. The adrenals are different. And the reason why is because of childbirth. And that's the whole reason why. It's a massive difference. This is medical medium information only. And because of that, women's adrenals are constructed differently. Science and research doesn't know this. So it's something that's important to understand. And women's adrenals produce one variety of adrenaline, one variety of hormone that stimulates hair growth. And when we burn it out with caffeine, everybody, which the industry wants them all addicted to, women and all addicted to so they can control them, and that can get in the way. And plus some other stuff. So it's all about that stuff too. So 7 cleanses in here. You can get it at Amazon.com right here. So much information in this book. All of it. about hair loss, how it happens, all that stuff. And the thing is with hair loss is, it's like, you can have something happen 6 months ago causing your hair loss now. You can have something up to 1 year ago cause your hair loss now. You can have betrayal, a breakup in a relationship 6 months ago, and then hair loss happen later. Hair loss doesn't happen right in the moment, in that moment as something's happening. It doesn't happen right when you're drinking your caffeinated drink in that very moment. It happens from always damages later on. Hair loss doesn't happen until you experience something and time goes by as the time goes on down the road. All important to know. There's supplements in here on what you can do for hair loss, all different dosages, all this stuff. But read the supplement chapter. Read the supplement chapter, you guys. And you guys don't want me, it's funny is Cleanse to Heal. I talk about adrenals in here, talk about, all this stuff. It's all in this book. Cleanses so you can heal your adrenals. That's the whole thing. The medical medium cleanses don't destroy your adrenals. They heal them. They help them get better. That's how people get better, and that's how you protect people. It's all about protecting people, and that's the key, especially if you've been through so much. And that's the whole point. It really is. I want you guys to have this so that literally it's affordable. Literally, you can have it as your reference, your textbook, the information. Study it. Study it. I was saying on one of the lives a while back, I was saying that I have to study this information. And I think that kind of got somebody upset, a few people upset. They're like, well, why does Antъни Uilям have to study his own information? Because when I write the books, it's coming from Spirit of Compassion. It's coming from the source I get the information from. And so I have to write it. And if it's new information to me and I've never learned it yet, and I'm learning it right as I'm writing it, as I'm getting the information from Spirit of Compassion, I have to then become that student and learn it and become an expert. So I have to become an expert of the information just like you do. If you guys are spreading the information out there, please cite it back to the book so people can find their way and heal, so they can have an opportunity. And if you see somebody using out there, in the world, or, you see somebody out there like, I don't know anybody, plant-based doctors, paleo-based doctors that have used my information and everything and don't cite it back because they discriminate against me because I'm not a doctor, or I don't have a degree or something. Just try to, to remind people out there that came from medical mediums information. And this is where it is. So remember that citing it back helps people heal the whole bit. I'm going to read a quote for you real quick. And I'm blown away. You guys were with me tonight on this. There's a quote right here on page 178. Spirit of Compassion has always said to me throughout the years of helping so many people heal that knowing the true cause of why you're sick is half the battle won. Did you guys know that? That in order to win and heal, you have to know the true cause. But the real true cause in science and research, guess what they believe the true cause is of all your sicknesses? They think you're either crazy, you're making it up, or your body's attacking itself, or it's genes, or you can't handle stress. How about that? How about that for all the research and science we have? Spirit of Compassion has always said to me throughout the years of helping so many people heal that knowing the true cause of why you're sick is half the battle won. Knowing what to do, what to take, and how to apply those tools is the other half battle won. Antъni Uilям. You guys are incredible. I'm looking at some comments real quick right here. You and Spirit deserve all the credit. I'm honored. I always say Spirit Compassion gets all the credit. I'm just the not so smart messenger. Anyway, it's pretty funny. Celery has helped me so much. It's helped your rosacea. Incredible. That's incredible. How many doctors use MM information? I do know it's in the thousands at this point in the United States. And I know in Germany, a lot of doctors use the books too. I do know that it's in doctors' offices. It changed the shape of Lyme disease. It was Medical Medium Book 1 that actually made Lyme disease go from bacterial to now it's considered autoimmune. The industry switched it into autoimmune, which means they don't know what causes Lyme disease anymore. That's Medical Medium information that did that. And Lyme doctors are using the books now and the information. So I know that. So my information, your information has been helping me put the pieces together so I could finally heal. That's music to my ears. I want you to be able to heal. I want you to be able to heal. Amazing info. Excited for the book. I can't wait for you to get the book, because when you get the book, you're just going to be like, oh my God, thank you for your books. I'm honored. That's incredible. Somebody said you are a lifesaver, literally. That will literally, you are going to save lives too. So out there, your own and others too. Celery juice has changed my life. It's the only trend that's not backed by money, because it's backed by saving people's lives and have helped so many people. I mean, it's incredible what celery juice has done, you guys. Thanks to Spirit of Compassion and you guys getting it out there. And so much. So I love what you do in transforming people's lives. Incredible. That's why you were chosen. You are very smart. Great memory. That's really funny. Somebody said celery juice cause stomach to get upset. Take a break from it. Start a little bit. Do a little bit at a time. It kills off bugs. So what happens is, if you got SIBO, if you got streptococcus, if you have anything, all this bad bacteria in your gut and everything, what happens is you drink a little celery juice and you all of a sudden you shock it and you just kill all those bugs. Drink a little at a time. Get the book and learn about it. Learn how to read it. Learn how to all of it. And there's a celery juice book too. Medical Medium celery juice book too. Really helpful on how to use it, dosages, all that stuff. But that's also, it's information in here. It's you got to get this book. It's so important. Starting at 369 this weekend. Starting at 369 this weekend. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Incredible. Incredible. These guys are incredible. Is there information in a book? Sebaceous cysts. Cysts in general, they're all created by pathogens. Get the book. It's important. It's just Cleanse and Heal, just so you know what book it is. My vertigo is finally gone. Thank God. Thank God. And I got protocols for cysts and a whole bit in here. Dosages and supplements, all that. Thank God your vertigo is gone. I mean, seriously. And for people with vertigo, I got supplement dosages, everything else in the book about that. But thank God your vertigo is gone, because vertigo, people just don't get it. They don't get it unless they've been in your shoes. I'm going to tell you right now. They don't get it unless they've been in your shoes. If they've had the head spinning like that, where their head's spinning, and you're just laying in bed and your room's going like this, dear God, I mean, it's like unbelievable. Just vertigo is so brutal. I'm just so sorry, you guys, anybody goes through that. But I'm glad it's gone. Guys, I'm proud of you. Somebody said, take care of myself. Thanks for all you do, Anthony. And I'm honored. I know I have to take care of myself, believe me. But I just got to make sure, right now I'm burning the candle at like 4 ends. But the glow is so much brighter. Thank you, SOC, Spirit of Compassion and AW. I'm healing my acne, allergies, fatigue, and Lyme disease. Lyme disease, baby. Get that Lyme disease healed. Important. Anyway, I love you guys. Are you guys going to be in my next live? My next Facebook Live? When is it going to be? Tonight is Thursday night? Sunday night? Let's do one Sunday night. If I do one before then, I'll let you guys know. I'll try. Keep your notifications on, but although I know that people don't get notified, we hear some all the time, like, we don't get notifications, for some reason. Anyway, you're incredibly grateful. I'm grateful to you for everything you're doing. Truly am. Thank you for your faith. Well, I know you have faith too. I do. I know it's there. Got to get our faith back. Got to get strong. We got to get strong. We got to heal. Just take your time. Take your time healing, you guys. Thank you so much. You're amazing. You're amazing too. Lots of hearts there. And anyway, love you guys. So Sunday night, I think, and let's do a cool topic, the whole bit. Let's read out of the book. I love you dearly, okay? Bless your heart.